Welcome to the Brain Alpha. Let me ask you a serious question right off the bat. Are your so-called healthy morning habits secretly destroying your focus? We've all seen the advice, right? You wake up, and maybe you're totally dedicated to self-improvement. You're someone who already knows that scrolling TikTok in bed is a terrible idea. So instead, you turn to this endless supply of internet routines promising you the perfect, hyper-productive day. But if you're watching this explainer, I'm guessing you've hit a wall. So let's find out exactly why that's happening. Look, have you ever felt this exact frustration? You wake up early, you make your bed, you jump into a freezing cold shower, you drink your lemon water with a pinch of salt, go for a walk, journal, meditate. You do the whole shebang. You put in almost 2 hours of exhausting preparation, but when you finally sit down at your desk to actually do your work, crickets, zero motivation, your brain is totally foggy, the tasks just aren't getting done, and suddenly your whole morning feels like a massive waste of time.
There is a massive disconnect here. On one side, we have this bloated, internet-famous advice literally stacking habit after habit to supposedly build momentum. But the reality? The longer your routine gets, the more it just eats into your actual productive work time. And honestly, even worse is the guilt. If you sleep in just a tiny bit and miss one piece of your elaborate routine, you feel like you've already ruined the day. Your productivity absolutely tanks simply because you missed your morning yoga. It's a trap, guys. Doing more is actually resulting in less real work.
Okay, let's dive into something that completely shifted my perspective. When you picture highly successful startup founders, tech CEOs, or billionaires, do you really picture them spending 2 hours journaling and taking ice baths before answering a single email? Well, according to flow and neuroscience expert Ryan Doris, the answer is absolutely not. Ryan himself spent years trying literally every biohack out there, from mushroom coffee to walking barefoot on wet grass, and it just left him exhausted. When he actually started talking to elite CEOs, he discovered a shocking truth. They skip these routines entirely.
So what's their actual secret weapon? It all boils down to a single number: 90. Top-tier entrepreneurs don't spend hours prepping for the day. They dive straight into their most important work within 90 seconds of opening their eyes. They wake up and boom, they instantly begin executing. Now, when Ryan Doris first heard this, he thought it was nuts. He assumed that without a routine to warm up his focus, his performance would just plummet. But when he actually tried skipping his routine and starting work immediately, his productivity skyrocketed. Let's look at the science of why this works so incredibly well.
To really get this, we need to talk about cognitive load. Think of cognitive load kind of like your brain's RAM. It's the amount of information, decision-making, and stress you're processing at any given second. And here is the absolutely crucial point. When you first wake up, your cognitive load is completely empty. Your brain hasn't processed a single email, no news, no daily stress. Because this load is at zero, those nagging thoughts of, "Ugh, I don't want to do this," or "this task is too hard," simply don't exist yet.
Just think about how this cognitive pressure builds up throughout your day. Right when you wake up, your mental load is at its absolute lowest. Fast forward to midday, you've made dozens of decisions, so your cognitive load is hovering around medium. But by the evening, after a long day of work or school, it's incredibly high. Have you ever tried to sit down and study for 3 hours right after coming home exhausted? It's nearly impossible, right? Because your cognitive load is completely maxed out. That beautifully low cognitive load in the morning makes the moment you open your eyes the ultimate, friction-free golden hour.
And the neuroscience backing this up? It's fascinating. When you're just waking up, in that groggy, half-asleep state, your brain is producing theta and delta waves. Surprisingly, the brain waves for a deep flow state, that magical elusive zone of peak productivity, are the exact same, theta and delta. When you're fully awake, stressed out, and processing a 2-hour routine, you've shifted into a beta brainwave state. So your half-asleep brain is literally already biologically primed for deep focus. So here is the bitter irony of it all. Why do we even do morning routines in the first place? Well, to prepare our brains to enter a flow state, right? But the science shows us that the second we wake up, we're already in the perfect neurological environment for flow. By getting up, exercising, jumping in cold water, and running through a massive checklist, you're actively waking your brain up way too much. You are literally breaking yourself out of a natural state of deep focus that was handed to you on a silver platter the moment you opened your eyes. But hold on a second, let's pause here. If working within 90 seconds is so amazing, is there a catch? Is diving right into work just a massive trap for burnout? Well, here is the plot twist. After learning this from billionaires, Ryan Doris threw out his routines and adopted this immediate work method for a whole year. And yeah, his productivity went completely through the roof, but he also completely burned out. He noticed this exact same pattern in a lot of highly successful startup founders too. They were incredibly productive, but they were often severely overweight, depressed, or just mentally exhausted. Why? It all comes down to the neurology of flow. Flow actually isn't just one state. It has 4 distinct phases: struggle, release, flow, and recovery. Being in a deep flow state consumes a massive amount of neurological energy and resources. If you want to enter flow again tomorrow, you absolutely must pass through the recovery phase. The reason Ryan and those elite entrepreneurs were burning out wasn't because working early was bad. Actually, scratch that. It was simply because they were entirely skipping that 25% recovery phase. And that brings us to the ultimate fix. This is the major paradigm shift of this entire explainer. You do not have to throw your healthy habits in the trash. The cold showers, the journaling, the sunlight, the walks, they are all incredibly valuable. But they aren't for preparation, they're for recovery. You just need to shift those classic morning habits to after your intense morning work sprint. By doing this, you stop ruining your morning flow state and you finally give your brain the dedicated downtime it desperately needs to prevent burnout.
So in practice, this hybrid routine completely flips your timeline. You wake up, within 90 seconds you transition straight to your workspace while your brainwaves are still in that optimal theta and delta state. Then, you knock out 1 to 2 hours of deep, highly focused work. Then, once your brain has exerted that energy and your focus naturally starts to dip, that is when you begin your recovery routine. You go outside, get sunlight, exercise, take your shower. It's the absolute perfect balance of maximizing natural flow and ensuring cognitive recovery.
Now, to execute this new science-backed approach safely, we need to follow the hybrid routine framework. There are 5 practical rules here to make sure you get the maximum benefit without the nasty burnout. You have to decide your tasks the night before, cap your morning sprint at around 2 hours, completely avoid working from your bed, manage your hydration properly, and most importantly, treat that recovery phase as non-negotiable. Let's break down exactly how to apply these rules to your everyday life.
Rules 1 and 3 are all about speed and environment. Speed is literally everything here. Remember, you only have about 90 seconds before you start losing that groggy, friction-free brain state. If you wake up and have to spend 10 minutes thinking, what should I work on today? You've already lost. You have to brain dump through tasks the night before and prioritize the most difficult, brain-heavy stuff. And when you wake up, immediately leave your bed and go to a dedicated desk. Working in bed confuses your brain and it'll destroy your ability to fall asleep there later on. Now, there's also a surprising, non-negotiable rule regarding hydration. When you wake up, your brain desperately needs water to function. You should be chugging water immediately as you boot up your computer. But what about coffee, I know you're wondering? Well, the rule is, do not drink coffee within the first 60 to 90 minutes of waking up. Why? Because early coffee blocks your brain from naturally clearing out adenosine, which is a sleep chemical. If you block that process, you're practically guaranteeing a massive wave of fatigue and a brutal crash later in the afternoon. Stick to water first.
Okay, Rule 5 brings us to the recovery toolkit. After your 1 to 2 hours of deep work, you must recharge. This is where your old morning routine really shines. Getting direct sun exposure, taking a brisk 20 to 30-minute walk, and doing just 5 minutes of meditation are incredible for lowering that cognitive load back down to baseline and resting your neural pathways. And as you keep going into the afternoon, try using Pomodoro breaks, working for 50 minutes and resting for 10 to ensure you're continuously injecting these micro-recoveries into your day. You know, I want to add a quick, funny insight from the source material that perfectly sums up the power of this half-wake state. Taking a freezing cold shower in the dead of winter is totally brutal, but it's actually much easier to do when you're half asleep. Why? Because your brain simply lacks the cognitive capacity to care or complain. You just stumble in, turn on the cold water, and by the time you realize how freezing it is, you're already doing it. That exact same logic applies to doing your hardest, most intimidating work tasks. So the big question is, are you ready to ditch those bloated 2-hour preparation routines? It really is time to challenge the way we think about productivity. Instead of forcing your brain to wake up with exhausting tasks just so you can sit down and feel completely unmotivated, try flipping your schedule. Capitalize on that beautifully quiet, low-friction moment the second you open your eyes. Dive straight into your most important work before your brain even has the chance to realize it's working.
Master your mornings. Master your mind. The science is absolutely clear. Your peak focus state is waiting for you the exact moment you wake up, provided you protect it, and provided you follow it up with genuine recovery. So stop preparing to work and just start working. What will you accomplish with your first 90 seconds tomorrow? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and help us build the hype. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.